I get to see a lot of the checklists that people use when they are approving a machine to go in their plant. And it's always, does it have guarding? Is it ergonomic? I mean, a lot of times it's even picky about the paint color. One thing I rarely see is what happens to your machine when the power fails? Let's find out. I'm going to press my green button. It's going to start our process, and I'm going to kill the power midway through. And actually go ahead and hit the pause button on the video and just think about it a second. What do you think is going to happen when I turn the power back on? Is it going to stay where it's at? Is it going to suddenly take off back to its home position? Or is it going to take back off and continue where it left off? That's very important if we had a problem and now somebody has their hands in it and we turn the machine on. I'm going to plug the power into the PLC. It'll take just a second to boot up and it takes back off where it left off. Now, that can be a major safety issue. And that was what the first scan bit was that I was talking about in the previous video. Now, if you haven't been following along, we are doing a great series with these Festo-didactic MetClab trainers, and we are currently working with the stacking trainer, and we have it integrated to our PLC trainer. Now, there's a few things going on here that we need to really think about. Is first, should it move at all? And chances are the answer is no. There should be some other thing to go along with that. The other thing is we need probably some type of manual operation. And probably if you followed these videos or if you've gotten here without following these videos, you probably have the automatic operation with no real way for manual control. So we are going to make some modifications to this now so that one, it will not move. And then we're going to make a way to manually control it. Going back to the sequence times 10 method that we've been programming this with, there was an S:/FS at the bottom of this, and this is the Studio 5000 first scan bit. And to do that in connected components, we're going to bring down a new branch and I go look for a one, and we are going to find the underscore sysva first scan. So that is going to be true on the very first scan when this switches to run mode. And that is going to put a value of 10 into our sequence. Now we need a little bit more than this though to really get our machine not to move, because right now these are true all the time. And we need them to have some type of auto cycle on the front of them. So let's bring down a go look for a one in front of this. And we are going to call this auto cycle. That way this will not be true unless this auto cycle is true. And we'll right click it and copy. And then we will right click here and paste. And we will right click here and paste, and right click here and paste. And finally on our other output, right click and paste. That way none of our outputs will turn on if we're not in auto cycle. Okay, now we need an auto cycle, and I'm going to put this at the very top, and we're going to bring a new rung down, and we are going to put a go look for a one down for our green button. And then we are going to output energize our auto cycle. Now we want to seal this in. And if you go back to our conveyor video, we had a start stop seal in. Go check it out. What we did is we put a go look for a one for whatever the output was. So that's going to be auto cycle. And then we want to go look for a zero on our red button. So that way we get that auto cycle. Now, what's really cool about this, and I have videos that go into depth of the power up and how the pre-scan works, but this will be off when the power is cycled. All right, so just to even make this a little bit cleaner, right now we have a green button here. Really, this is this auto cycle button. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to auto cycle now. And let's download that. Now I'll press the green button and it goes down, comes up, goes over. comes back up, and oh, all right, now we have an issue because it is not stopping. So we need to find something in there to stop it with. Luckily, we did put this nice red button here. So that does allow us to stop it. Now notice it did stop in an inconvenient spot, which is why we're going to add a manual mode in just a second. But first we need to deal with this. And there are several ways to do it. And I'm going to do it in a little bit of a way that a lot of you are going to be like, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. And a lot of you are going to be like, wow, Tim, why did you just show them that? But I think this is one of those perfect examples where this code is very clean and we already have this auto cycle stop down here. And so along with setting this to 10, I'm going to disconnect here and I am going to put an output unlatch to that auto cycle. And I am doing this halfway because a lot of you think you can't, and really this is a good, probably clean way to do this. So let's go ahead and download that. All right, and first we have the issue of it stopping in an inconvenient place. Now we did our sequence and we wrote it out. Now let's find out, okay, did we plan for this situation? So I'm gonna press the green button and it retract, comes back. Okay, it was kind of fast there, but it actually did recover from that and it stopped. I press the green button again and it goes through another cycle. Okay, now let's test out the power failure. I'll press my green button and I pulled the power and it has stopped right there. And our hope is when I plug this back in and the PLC comes back on that it will not move. And our PLC is back on and it did not move. Now I'm going to press the green button and you're going to see that this thing takes back off again. And depending on your application, that could be very dangerous still. So press my green button and it went back up and started moving. So in this case, in addition to having that auto cycle, we really need a manual cycle. And that's right. That's why we added this switch 4, because now we are going to take switch 4 and we are going to turn it into a hand off auto. And this is a really common control you see. So in auto, it's going to do what it's been doing. Off, our outputs are not going to turn on. And in hand, programmatically, because we can't have hardwired hand, we're going to make it where these 4 buttons will actually jog our cylinders. And while we're at it, we're going to take switch 1 and make it turn on the vacuum. That way we can fully manually run this. Let's start by working on our handoff auto. And if we open up our controller tags, on input 9 and 10, there's switch 4 left, switch 4 right. So I'm going to make this switch 4 left hand and switch 4. Actually, that's a little long. So let's just call this switch 4 hand and switch 4 auto. And then first, we only want the auto cycle to be able to turn on when we're in the auto position. So I'm going to go find switch 4 auto. And I'm going to put that at the very beginning of this. So we'll need to select a switch in auto and then it'll work just like we had it. Our sequence will work exactly like it has. And then finally, we have this part because we have auto cycle right now that's going to operate all this. I'm going to bring down go look for our 1 and we are going to look for that switch for auto. And then we also want to have a hand mode here. Now, I've got to tell you, I feel that this should be tremendously easier than it is in connecting components. This is super easier in Studio 5000. And I will say, make sure you've saved your program before it because we're getting ready to learn a little bit about the words that are behind this ladder editor. So before I start, I am going to hit that save button up here. When's the last time you actually saved your program? And then we want to be able to add a branch in here. And I would love for somebody to show me what I'm doing wrong. But in Studio 5000, I could drop it here. I could grab this leg and I could drag it over. But see, that just drags the entire branch around. Doesn't actually do anything. So I'm going to hit the undo button, undo, and undo. And that gets us back where we were. there's a hidden arrow right here that you can drop down, and we can actually see the code behind our ladder. And this is rung 16. We're going to go up to rung 12. So we have an XIC, which is my go look for one for input 10. That's this right here. We have an XIC for auto cycle. And then we have a BST. That's a branch start. That's flagging this point right here. And we have equal sequence 50. And then we have next branch. And that tells it to go here. And we go through a bunch of that. And finally, we have a BND or end branch. And so we can actually edit this rung also. And again, this is going to be tough. But if we go here and we type BST NXB space, that's going to begin our branch. Don't worry about what's going on down here. And then down here we have BND. If we type BND a second time here, and then click into here, we're going to see that we have our extra branch. Then we can bring a go look for a one down, and we can find switch 4. And in this one's case, we're just going to go straight across with these. So traverse extend, we're going to be looking for the green button when we do this. So green button. But I want you to replicate this for the rest of your outputs. And when we're finished, we will have the green button being hand for the traverse extend, the yellow button being hand for traverse retract, the red button being hand for vacuum extend, the blue button being hand for vacuum retract, and switch 1 being hand for our vacuum solenoid. Now, did anyone else feel a lot of tension while they were trying to do that text edit? I'm hoping somebody in the comments tells me a whole lot easier way to do that. But I tried for quite a while and I could not figure out how to make that branch go across without doing the text editor. Now we want to make one more change because remember right now, our auto cycle will take off without this being in the traverse retracted and vacuum retracted spot. And that's actually step 1 right here was those two. So all I'm gonna do is highlight those, right click, and we're gonna copy them. And then we're gonna right click here. And then we're gonna make them permissives here on this green button logic right here. So we'll let the sealing continue, but before this green button will start our auto cycle, we also want the traverse to be retracted and the vacuum to be retracted. And let's go ahead and download that. And if I didn't mention it, if I went too fast through that, or you're just stumbling into this awesome Festo Didactic MATLAB series, then hit that subscribe button because we have a whole series going on this. All right, and let's see what happens now. When we do have a stop button, so we should, instead of being able to just kill the power, we should be able to hit our start button. Wow. I was not expecting that. So we do have an unplanned learning opportunity. No, we don't have an unplanned learning opportunity. What did we just see happen? Switch 4 is in the left position. I hit the green button. And if we look at our logic, then we made it so that the green button is our traverse extend. So now we do get to test our auto logic out. Because first, to get into auto, we need to have switch 4 into the auto position. And now I'm going to press the green button. And it is not going to work because it is going to look for the traverse to be retracted before we ever start. And if we go down, then we made our traverse retract the yellow button. Actually already tested. Our auto interlock does work. We'll switch back to the hand position and I'm going to hit the yellow button. That's going to retract it. And now I can switch back to auto mode, hit the green button. That is going to work through our auto sequence. And let's go ahead and test this power failure, even though we feel it works. And yes, on your machines, when you're testing them out, see what happens on that power failure. I'm going to switch it to auto, hit my green button, and then I'm going to kill the power. We'll plug it back in. And hopefully we stare here and wonder if the PLC has come back online yet. It's had enough time. It came back online. It did not move. We are in auto. I'm going to try to hit the green button. and it will not take off because now we do have to switch it to manual, and we are going to need to retract the traverse. Then we can switch back to auto, press our green button, and it'll go back through its cycle. Now we're gonna have some fun. I hope you've been having some fun with these Festo MetLab trainers. I know I have, as we are going to start putting these together. And we are gonna run into some unique challenges. I believe I'm gonna run into first unique challenge that you also are gonna run into is you do not have enough IO. So grab yourself a snack and then click here to follow me over there.